people who are HIV positive and know it are on retroviral treatment or have their viral loads under control. And then there was another story today about in New York City, the health department or health commission there suggested everyone who's HIV positive get on antiretroviral medicines. And I was wondering if someone, maybe Vicky can answer this, but if someone gets infected in Muskegon County, are they immediately put on medications?
Well, I don't know what the protocol is here in Muskegon County, but the standards have been changing. It used to be that when somebody's viral load reached 200, they would start treatment. Then it got raised to 350.
Actually, that's the CD4 count.
I'm sorry, CD4 count, not the viral. That would be pretty low. But now there's a new trend to put somebody on medication as soon as they know that they're infected. The problem is the medications are really expensive. It can cost up to $1,000, $1,500 a month for medication, depending on what kind of regimen you're on. So, yeah, I think there's a growing push to put people on immediately. The unfortunate part is the 28% you mentioned of the known infected people, only 28% are receiving infected treatment, which is sad. Other comments, questions? Yes.
There was a law that said that you can come into the U.S. if you had HIV at one time?
Yes.
What was part of that law?
What?
What was the law? What pretty much, like besides that, like
what was the purpose of it?
I mean, yeah, but like what else is in the law? Just was it just plain clear if you have HIV you can't come in the U.S. or were that like conditions?
Basically that was it. If you're a foreigner and you have an HIV infection, you weren't allowed into the United States. And there are still one or two other countries like that. I think Saudi Arabia is one of them. Those laws really are based on some of these fears, people not really knowing and understanding how the virus is transmitted. So it's good that we've had the ban lifted because we can have researchers coming to this country, and the AIDS conference this summer in Washington, D.C. is going to be a big event.
Didn't that law kind of come into effect like in the mid-'80s when the scare of
yes.
AIDS was so drastic? And
that's true. That is true. And a lot of the laws, there's some other laws that came into effect that were motivated by that too. For example, in Michigan, if you are an HIV-infected person and you have sex with somebody and don't disclose your HIV status to them, it's a felony. If you know that somebody else is HIV positive and you disclose their status, that's a $1,000 misdemeanor. So if you count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the people you're exposed to, it could be quite a fine. The problem is it's a really difficult law to enforce, and it's also kind of counterproductive because, and there's some controversy about it, and I'd be willing to hear your views, but some people believe that the law really works against people being tested because there are some people who fear the law, fear imprisonment so much that they don't want to know their status, that they might have to disclose. So there's some controversy about that. Yes?
Does health insurance cover part of the medication that they can get on HIV, or?
It depends upon your insurance. Many insurance companies do cover it, yes. And if you don't have insurance, then there's a federal program called ADAC. Is that right? Yes. And the problem is that some states there are waiting lists for people to get on EDAP. I think in Michigan we're doing pretty well, but in other states they have people waiting for treatment, which is not good.
Are there any restrictions or laws that have been passed recently in Michigan that would affect people's abilities to find a safe, accessible healthcare clinic? Because I think there's a general trend to try and restrict access to birth control and other things of that nature. Has there been any impact from any of the legislation that's happened during the recent term?
I'm not quite understanding your question. Could you repeat it?
Are there any limits, not only financially, but in terms of have any of the has there been any legislation here in Michigan during this term that has placed more restrictions on availability for clinics and things to serve the community? I mean, are there some new mines and trouble spots out there that people wanting to find out for themselves?
Well, I'm not aware of it, but the biggest decline is funding. Maybe you know more about that than I do.
I cannot answer the question.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's too vague.
Actually, to answer your question, yes, there have been actually 2 laws that have been passed recently in Michigan that affect how pharmacies and doctors can treat people with HIV and AIDS. If their beliefs are that they feel that this is a viral disease passed by only homosexuals, and that's not that's against their belief, they have a right to refuse treatment. And that could be a huge stumbling block for